Two contrasting yet interrelated feelings hit me the moment I walked through the exit doors of the terminal at Nairobi International Airport at 6 a.m. and stepped into Africa for the first time. Number one was the worst, most exhausting case of jet lag I'd ever experienced. The second was a sudden heightened awareness of my own alienness. After a 28-hour journey from the United States, including a 15-hour layover and whirlwind tour of London, with my wife, Nancy, and our 7- and 10-year-old sons, who'd had all of 6 hours of sleep over the previous 2 days in tow, I understood the exhaustion. I was simply glad to have survived my very first international travel experience and have all 8 pieces of our luggage arrive in Kenya with us. What caught me by surprise was how suddenly and totally out of place I felt. We definitely weren't in Kansas anymore. I'd lived in Kansas for a few years before I moved to Texas, and Nairobi wasn't anything like anywhere I'd ever been before. Most of the hour-and-a-half drive to our final destination remains a blur on my memory screen. Any travel guide spiel offered by the man who met us at the airport and drove us out to Kajabi went right over, or in and out of my head. Although I clearly remember that I found driving on the left side of the road so disconcerting that I couldn't count the number of times I flinched in anticipation of a horrendous crash. But a few of the sights and sounds and smells of Africa penetrated the fatigue enough to leave some lasting impressions, all of which fed my out-of-place feeling. Every direction I turned, everything I saw looked so foreign. More than 3 million people live in Nairobi, Kenya's capital and largest city. Most of them seem to be out walking shortly after dawn on this weekday morning. The rest rode in matatus, privately owned vans and minivans, that serve as the country's primary mass transportation. As many as 30 Kenyans will pack into a van built to hold 9 people comfortably. I saw some matatus with riders on top and others with outside passengers standing on running boards or hanging from luggage racks, or clinging to open and swinging back doors. Neither drivers nor pedestrians hesitated to cross multiple lanes of moving traffic, wherever and whenever they wanted. Then there were the donkey carts, using the same lanes as motorized vehicles, and the chickens, goats, and sheep that wandered all over the place. The city was so crowded and dirty, even the new buildings looked tired. Vendors peddled anything and everything you can imagine, and some you can't, in what looks like an endless roadside flea market. The farther you get from the downtown business district, the more frequently you see and smell trash burning right along the streets. Somewhere between 1 and 2 million people make their homes in Nairobi's slums, living in sheet metal shacks with dirt floors. Even if you aren't a big city fan, you can enjoy the energy of New York, the vitality of Chicago, the diversity of San Francisco. It was hard to find anything in Nairobi to appreciate, except for the more than 3 million individuals who live there in some of the most deplorable conditions you can imagine. When I managed to look past the constantly moving mass of people walking along, and back and forth across the roadways, to focus on one person at a time, what I saw was even more unsettling. Young kids the age of our JT and Matthew, carrying around large jars of glue, sniffing all the time. And as I looked more carefully, I was amazed by how many people I noticed in the background, sitting, staring, and going nowhere. There seemed to be no hope in their eyes. Even after we got out of Nairobi, a steady stream of trudging pedestrians paralleled the road, as many people walking away from the city as walking toward it. There wasn't quite as much to see in the countryside, but what was there in that vast rural landscape felt just as foreign to me as anything I'd seen in Nairobi, which made me wonder yet again, and not for the last time, what's an ordinary, unadventurous, some might say humdrum, I prefer typical, suburban American guy like me doing in a place like Kenya? For a year, no less. What was I thinking when I agreed to this?